morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. Today we're going to be discussing on everything that happened on Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 44, where Matt Mercer once again drops the absolute lore bomb on us. Now, I know this is a weird time for Dungeons & Dragons in the D&D content space with the ODL 1.1 looming and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro being super greedy. If you want to see my thoughts on the ODL, me breaking it down, explaining it, as well as talking about its effects on Critical Role and potential effects on D&D streaming and Critical Role, click the eye above. We're going to be trying to be a bit lighthearted in today's video amidst all the craziness going on. So let's just get right into it, shall we? So when we last left our group, they had just met with Plane Rider Ren, and we had gotten some big lore bombshells on the nature of Predathos, and a lot of other things just going on with Ruidus. The cast had returned to Eos, heading to the Seminary University to try to get some answers, and answers we got a little FCG Lore as he met with a professor who took him apart and told him that he was an Aormaton, harmonious Aormaton, a peacekeeper, but it's still possible that he was a rigged assassin bot, as he has some strange, unusual, large power source inside of him, a power source so large that if it was overcharged, it could blow up, like, basically the entirety of the building that they're in. But these Aor lore drops ultimately were overshadowed by the massive lore that Imogen got when she was talking with Professor Sumal, one of the members of the Grim Verity, and the person who took the notes for the Omen Archive. She was one of the main professors that led the research into Ruidus and Ruidus-born people, and conducted the research in a test subject on Imogen's mother, Liliana Timolt, who we learn was one of the first Exaltant to approach this group of professors. It's simply the Omen Archive was originally an effort to break down all of the most prominent Ruidus-born people in history, as well to study the effects of Ruidus-born people, the increased number of Ruidus-born people, and as well the increased number of Exaltant people, people with special Ruidus-born abilities that were being born over the last, I don't know, century. As well, we also got confirmation here that Otahon is Exaltant, something that we have been saying for a long time now. So yes, +1 points for Fraud for getting a theory prediction correct, because we've been predicting that Otahon was Ruidus born and Exaltant for well over, basically since she was introduced as a character, honestly. Finally though, we get to some of the most juiciest details as we learn about a group of people known as the Riegel. You see, many of the Ruidus-born Exaltants were having this strange shared dream of them being basically almost on Ruidus, very akin to Imogen's dream, and we learned that they can interact and go into other Ruidus-born dreams. This is a kind of shared dreaming space where sometimes they can communicate with these strange crimson dust beings known as the Riegel. Now, we don't learn much about the Riegel. They seem to be some kind of, I guess, dream people, interdimensional planar type people. It seems most likely that these are possibly the creations of Predathos, his children, in many aspects, and apparently that when those are considered Ruidus-born become Ruidus-born, when the flares of Ruidus flare, it is the Riegel's people reaching down onto the plane of Exandria, I guess, and whenever a Ruidus-born person is born, it is the Riegel marking them, basically creating a connection between them and the person. Thus, whenever the person dreams or accesses their power, this is the Riegel's connection, I guess, to them. This is some absolutely crazy stuff. We really only got kind of the nuggets in the kind of broad strokes of this lore, which is absolutely crazy. I can't wait to learn more about this. If I had to guess, the Riegel, my opinion, were probably creations of Predathos. It seems like they would really be the only case, as they are related to Ruidus, and Ruidus was created as a prison for Predathos. So I guess then it only makes sense that in a way these are his children, and their way of communicating with, I guess, the peoples of Exandria is through the creations of Ruidus-born people, and through them kind of marking these people of Exandria. Ultimately, though, this lore session is smashed short as, who of all people arrives but one Ludinus Da'leth, the creator of the Cerberus Assembly. And man, is he pissed. Imogen and Fern are forced to confront Ludinus here in this professor's office by themselves. And while they manage to not get into any combat, Ludinus ultimately takes what he came for, the Omen Archives papers, and leaves. Though we did get some information from him. You see, before leaving, Ludinus says this: "I watched the world burn at their behest. I saw the ruin their games left on our people, the destruction they brought down to stunt mortal minds and hearts. They act only to preserve themselves. We may be their creations, but all children outgrow their parents, and they came to fear our development. The matron, the age of Arcanum, the growing will of the mortal mind, the divergence was to protect the gods from mortals, not the other way around." Now, these lines from Ludinus here are super sussy. It seems he's referring to the Calamity and the nature of the gods, and the way Ludinus is talking about it would make it seem as if he was there in the Calamity all along. Now, I'm gonna have to go back and watch EXU Calamity again and see if there's any mention of a very young Ludinus Da'leth or a young elven man. That sure seems like one Ludinus Da'leth, because the way that he is speaking about this, it very much seems like he is in fact as old as the Calamity, which would be freaking insane. It also makes me wonder if he himself is Ruidus born, which would be possible, as it seems he does communicate possibly with Predassos or Ruidus in some way. This really opens a huge can of worms here, and once again reinforces the absolutely amazingness of Matt Mercer's long-term storytelling. Make sure you go watch that video, but this even more enforces this, and we understand more why now we were given EXU Calamity, the miniseries, earlier in the year, as once again, we said this before, but that EXU Calamity miniseries was there strategically to give us details that will further be expanded upon in this campaign. The subject of the Calamity and gods and mortals and their relationship is very much kind of the full nature and subject matter of Campaign 3, and I'm absolutely head over heels for it. Ultimately, Ludinus leaves, taking the papers with him, forcing our party to have to step into it, as they call Rin and are transported to the Feywild, to where we are finally introduced to Fern's creepy-ass hag grandmother, who I absolutely love, and our episode ends. This week's really been a strange kind of dichotomy. On one hand, we have all the drama going on with D&D, the OGL, Critical Role, D&D Beyond, just everything going on, the Dungeons and Dragons community in an absolute uproar, and seemingly the potential end of this D&D renaissance we've seen over the last 6 to 8 years. Meanwhile, we have some absolutely insane Critical Role lore going on, and speculation about the future of Critical Role, what's going to happen to it. As well, we have the Legend of Vox Machina premiere dropping in 7 days right now from the time of recording, and things are just popping off. I don't know what the future has in store. We talk about it a lot in some of the other videos. Like we said, make sure you go check that out. I'm going to keep you guys updated on OGL stuff as it happens. For now, though, I'm just going to try to enjoy the absolute amazingness of the Critical Role story. And hopefully the Critical Role team and Matt Mercer will make the correct decision going forward, the correct decision for themselves, but ultimately the correct decision for the D&D community as a whole. Because let's not forget, guys, that Critical Role ultimately was a benefactor of the original OGL contract. They started from nothing and then have grown into this massive, huge community, this huge multi-million-dollar company. And so I really hope they don't forget their roots here. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Let me know your thoughts below about this absolutely insane episode of Critical Role. Can't wait for the Legend of Vox Machina premiere next week. Make sure you keep your guys open for all of the Easter egg videos we're going to be putting out for that. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, aru.
A love story that might be. We wasn't supposed to happen. So much talk around us. We became numb to the yapping. It was like 05. Got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car. Went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was ours. All the stars aligned and you were so